So I've talked a lot about basic training on this YouTube channel, but I got a question the other day wanting to know really, from the time basically you leave that morning to go to basic training, to go to reception, kind of what is that like? So, going to the airport and everything. So I thought, that's a pretty neat little idea, something I haven't talked about. So that is today's video. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about my experience the day I shipped off to basic training, from the time I was at my apartment to the time I got to the reception battalion, 38th AG at Fort Benning, Georgia, and what that whole process was like. So there is going to be a little bit of a difference here with active duty and reserves and National Guard, because if you are active duty, what you're going to do is the night before you go to basic training, you are going to go back to that hotel that you went to before whenever you go to MEPS, because if you didn't know, before you go to MEPS, you're going to go to some nice little hotel. It's going to be great. You're going to get like a free dinner and a breakfast and everything, and you'll be like, oh, this Army life is freaking amazing. So you're going to do that again if you're active duty. Reason being is if you are active duty, your time and service date does not actually start until the day you ship to basic training. So your time and service date doesn't start until you ship to basic training. But if you're in the National Guard or the Army Reserves, the first time you swear in, which is the first time you go to MEPS, or the first time you go to MEPS and swear in, because you might go to MEPS to take the ASVAB or something, that is the time when your time and service is going to start. So you're actually in the military at that point in time. And for active duty soldiers, they swore in the first time, but they could have gotten in trouble. They could have done something that would disqualify them from being in the military that second time around. So they have to go back to MEPS, go through that process. And then from there, what's gonna happen, depending on how close you are, if you're super close to one of the basic training posts that you're going to, you're gonna get bused from MEPS to the reception battalion. If you live close to one of the basic training posts that you're gonna be going to, and you're the National Guard or the Army Reserves, your recruiter is probably gonna drive you there. You might go in a van, or you might go on a bus to the reception battalion. If you are not somebody who lives close to the reception battalion or basic training post that you're going to, then you're going to fly there. A common question that I get a lot is, will the government pay for your travel to go to basic training? And, yes, of course they're going to pay for you to go to basic training. Like, if you, are living in New York or something like that, and you're going to basic training in Georgia, they aren't going to make you pay for that super long flight and set up all the travel and everything. So you should get an itinerary, all that stuff, all the travel expenses paid for to fly or whatever to basic training. And you're also going to get a little travel food voucher. So if you're going to fly on a plane, you're going to get about a $20 food voucher for that time at the airport. So before you get on the plane or after you get on the plane, then you can use that. You can go just wherever and just use that 20 bucks. I remember I went to Wendy's and it was $20. Like, you're not going to get to just keep the extra money. So I just ordered basically $20 worth of Wendy's food. I didn't eat it all, but it was like the most I've ever ordered, and it was freaking amazing. I was just eating all this different stuff, so that was great. But now backtracking a little bit, for me, whenever I left for basic training, my recruiter actually picked me up at my apartment, and he drove me to the airport. From the time, driving me to the airport, he, walked me through the whole process. This was the first time I ever flew, so he helped me check in and do all that stuff. And then I checked in, left, the recruiter was gone. I said bye, we'll see you later, man, even though I've never seen him. I've actually texted him after basic training, but, I've never personally seen the guy again. But, you get there and you just kind of sit around, and there's not any, Army stuff going on. You might run into a soldier or a guy who looks like he's going to basic training. He's like, oh, are you shipping off to basic training today? And you'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. You're gonna be like, maybe we're gonna be in the same platoon, but you're not, because there's gonna be a ton of people arriving at basic training that same day. So the likelihood is pretty low, but I mean, it's still a possibility, but the likelihood is low. But the thing is when you get on that plane and you fly over to the nearest airport of wherever you're going to go to basic training. So if you're flying into Georgia to go to Fort Benning, you're going to go into the Atlanta airport. And once you land, there's not going to be drill sergeants there, waiting for you to come off of the plane and be like, blah, 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 yelling at you. It's not going to happen right away. So at this point, if you haven't used your food voucher, I strongly recommend that you go and use your food voucher, because once you get off that plane, there's going to be a place where you need to go. So I think at the Atlanta airport, there's like this clock tower that you have to meet up at, and you will know to go meet up at the clock tower, and that is where the drill sergeants are going to be. That is where everybody's going to be meeting up in order to go off and get on the bus and everything to go to basic training. So if you want to just soak in a little bit of your last civilian hours or civilian minutes and, you know, get something to eat, just kind of chill for just a few minutes, then, you know, take a breather. Like, that's perfectly okay. There's not going to be a super rush time hack because there's going to be people flying in all the time. So if your flight lands early, you know, if it, like in early, I mean like, you know, before 2 p.m. or so, then just take a breather, maybe sit down, get a drink or something like that. Just, you know, soak it in. This is your last few minutes before you're meeting the drill sergeants, because when you go over to that clock tower, that is when you're going to meet the drill sergeants. At that point on, you're not going to get to do whatever you want anymore. So once you do go over to the clock tower or go over to wherever your designated area is at the airport, you're gonna meet all these other people, all these other future soldiers, and then at some point, drill sergeants are gonna come up. They're gonna talk to you. They're gonna get everybody lined up in a formation. Everybody's gonna be formed up in their civilian clothes. And then for us, what we did was we went to a room and we sat Indian style, legs crossed, you know, really, really close together, and this one room off to the side, and we did a little bit of initial paperwork. I don't remember whatsoever what the paperwork was. I just know we did the paperwork because when you go through reception, all this, there's just so much paperwork. Like you at this point, you know, it was 3 years ago. I don't remember specifically what it was, but you're gonna do some kind of paperwork for us at the airport, and then once that's over, then you're gonna get out of the room, you're gonna go in your formation again, and then the drill sergeant is gonna talk to you all, and there's gonna be people walking by, civilians, they're all just gonna be staring at you like, what the heck is going on? And then some people who are informed, kind of know the military, they'll be like, oh, these people are shifting off to basic training, you know, hooray for them or whatever. But the drill sergeant's gonna talk to you, and then you're gonna load up on a bus to ride over to basic training. During this time, you're still going to have your phone. Your phone is not going to be taken away. Even if you're going to Fort Benning, you're still going to have your phone at this time. They're not going to take it until you get to reception, because this is still at the airport. So you're going to go over, you're going to get on your bus. This was the last time I remember, you know, I was riding the bus and I still had my phone and everything, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. You're a little excited. You're talking to everybody on the bus. It's kind of like this cool little moment. It was the last time I posted like an Instagram picture or something of like my last few minutes or so whenever I saw that, you know, we got on the Fort Benning post. It was a crazy moment. I kind of remember it kind of like it was yesterday. It's kind of crazy thinking about it now. But it's a pretty exciting time because all of your nervousness, your excitement is all kind of just building up to this moment. And kind of some of it goes away a little bit when you first interact with the drill sergeants at the airport. It's kind of just like, all right, you know, here we go. Then you get on the bus and it's like, all right, here we go. And then you're gonna drive on to the post. And it's, for a lot of you, it's gonna be the first time you're ever on a military installation. It was for me. And that's another thing. It's just like, all right, you know, here we go. We're about to start this thing. And you're just gonna drive around. You know, if you're going to Fort Benning, you're gonna go to Sand Hill. You're gonna get there, and then you're gonna park at the reception battalion, and then the drill sergeant's gonna come on. This is not the shark attack point, right? So this is not where the drill sergeant's gonna come on the bus and just yell at everybody to get off, get off, get off. You got 5 seconds to get off the bus. This is not that. So they're just gonna get on the bus, and they're just gonna be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. You know, get off the bus. You're gonna form up outside of the reception battalion. You're probably gonna stand there for a little bit of time. You know, it could just be, you know, honestly, a few minutes. It could be an hour or a while. So it might be a while that you stand in formation outside of the reception battalion, because inside they might have other soldiers in there, so they're waiting for all of them to clear out and everything. But once you're done with that formation, you're gonna go inside and watch, at least for us, we watched a little video, and we watched this video several times, just loop, and it just looped, and it was extremely boring. And this is the beginning of reception. This is the beginning of the boredom at reception. And so you're gonna stay in this room, you're watching this video, and they're gonna be periodically calling names and basically separating you by company, because once you arrive to reception, you're just a big gaggle of people. So you're gonna have some people, you know, if you're going to Fort Benning, you're gonna have some people who are going infantry, some people going CAS Scout, and other people who are like myself who are support MOSs, and you're all gonna be separated, and you're not gonna be going to the same basic training company. So this is gonna be the point where they will separate you by company, and then from then on, you'll kind of know who's gonna be in your company. You won't know who's gonna be in your platoon as a basic training. That's not going to be designated until the night before you leave for basic training. Like, you're going to go through reception, and at reception the night before you ship off to basic training, that is when you'll find out your platoon. But before then, this is the point when you'll figure out who's going to be in your company. Now after this point where they divvy you up, this is whenever it's going to get into the reception and what reception is like and all that stuff, and I have made a video on that. I think I made a video, that was one of the first videos that I made on what reception was like at Fort Benning, so if you want to check that out, it's going to be an older video, you know, but it is going to be a more fresh knowledge of like what actually happened at reception, what we did day to day, so you can check that out. This was just from me leaving with my recruiter picking me up, taking me to the airport, getting, you know, at the airport, meeting the drill sergeants at the clock tower, doing some paperwork, getting on the buses, and, you know, getting off and everything. So it's not going to be too much stress, but that's pretty much what it's going to be like. Now, if you're active duty, you're going to get on that bus or whatever, you're going to go to reception, and it's going to be the same thing. You're going to get outside formation, go inside, get divvied up and everything. So all that is basically going to be the same. It's just if you're flying there, that's going to be the difference. So it's really, are you busing to basic training or are you flying to basic training? So that may be two small differences. So that's it for this video. That's my little story on shipping off to basic training and what that whole kind of experience was like, and me honestly a little bit of reminiscing about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, that would be awesome. If you want to stick around some more videos, hit the subscribe button, that would be even better. And if you want to hit that notification bell button, that is just freaking amazing. You gotta do that nowadays on YouTube, so I'll really appreciate that. If you're not following me on Instagram and Snapchat, social media links are right here. Hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you later.